Well, welcome to another edition of Techspotting. I'm Bert Lum.
And I'm Ryan Ozawa. And today we thought we'd talk about something that we've been tracking and watching and been interested into for some time called co-working.
Well, co-working, and I'm hearing a number of different kinds of terms. I'm hearing things like hackerspace and well, we had the Makery come on, and
Right.
they're looking at creating these spaces where people can do stuff. There's a number of different, I guess, terms that are being
you've
used.
got, well, we can get to those. You've got jelly, you've got coffice, all sorts of terms, but it's actually not a new thing in a way. For a lot of folks, it just sounds like telecommuting. And we've been talking about that since the 80s, where you can work remotely. But the difference with co-working is that you're not ignoring the other people there. You're not there just to do your job. Part of the magic of a co-working space is to be able to connect and collaborate, perhaps even by chance, with someone else who happens to be there.
Well, okay, so what's the difference between, let's say, a co-working and an incubator?
Well, an incubator is an office environment where you've got companies that are trying to do innovative things, and because they're together, there might be some synergies, there might be some connections. So that's exactly the same idea, but co-working is on an individual basis, where you might be a coder working for a company in California, I might be a designer working for a bakery here in Hawaii, but because we happen to be sitting in the same room, we might be able to leverage our talents, get together, and you can help me with coding, and I can help you with design.
So you've you said something like coffice. Where does this word coffice come
Well,
from?
coffice is a newer one. It's a coffee house office, and we all know what that is now, where you can go to Starbucks and half the people there have been there all day. They're not just having a latte and meeting a friend. They're setting up their laptops, they're talking on the phone, they're doing business in a coffee shop. So that's kind of the idea of coffice, where why not just give it a term for what we're doing? But co-working specifically has been around for some time as well. There was a wiki called the Co-working Wiki where you could sign up and say, hey, I want to co-work with anybody in my neighborhood. So that's kind of how I got into it maybe 3 or 4 years ago. There was a group at TechHui, which is a local hub, where people said, let's get a co-working thing going, or even let's get a jelly working. Truman Leung was one of the starters of that.
Well, and there was also, I think a couple of years ago, the city was actually looking at establishing a place that was kind of a co-working space.
Right, and in fact, the old idea of a tech park is kind of sort of the same idea. Again, get people with mixed talents, but looking to innovate and develop and grow, and keep them in the same general area so something magic can happen.
So what are some of the co-working hackerspace activities that are going on now that you see most activity revolving around?
Well, I like that you mentioned coffice, because that's happening quite a bit, whether it's a Starbucks or a coffee bean and tea leaf. It seems like more and more people are seeing that as not just what they're doing as a lone activity, but something they can do with someone else. You can be there together. We talked about jelly. Jelly is sort of a ad hoc, impromptu co-working session, which is not like we're picking a specific space, but hey, I am going to be here on this day at this time. If you're in the area, why don't you come? And there have been a lot of initiatives or attempts to get it happening. Now, at the Unconference, your event in February, there was an attempt to do something like co-working. It was called a hacker space, which is a kind of a creative space, a maker space for people who
They've actually
build
branded this new name for themselves called High Capacity.
Right. So that's a
And
local group.
I know that they've been doing some sort of electronics, little hacking, using
Arduino, yeah.
And they have been doing some things over at OceanEd, but I know they've been moving around.
Right, and so right now that's a lot of what's happening. There's people are doing these things, but they're still looking for a space. A couple of interesting developments recently is, one, there's a co-working space, or a jelly space actually, called the Box Jelly, kind of playing off the jellyfish thing. It's actually at a furniture store called Fish Cake in Kaka'ako, but because this nice furniture is sitting around on display all the time, why not have people using it and doing creative things? So they're already getting that started. You can pay $35 a day or $100 a week and have access to this. And again, the idea is if you've got other creative, talented coders or designers or developers, and they're all together, that they can help each other get through their problems. The other initiative that we've been tracking personally is led by John Garcia. Now he works with Kamehameha Schools. They're trying to do a reimagining, a redevelopment of Kaka'ako as the crossroads of Honolulu. And so they have now just recently committed a physical space in Kaka'ako to become a co-working space.
Now, in terms of this physical space, what needs to be done in that space in order to actually have it become functional?
Well, right now it's a warehouse that's used for storage, so there's going to be a lot of physical work, there's going to be a lot of cleanup and painting, but the idea is that it's going to be a very flexible space. They're not going to turn it into an office with cubicles, they're not going to turn it into a classroom with tables and chairs. They're going to make it so that whatever they want to do there, they can do there. It could be a music concert, it could be a lecture, it could be a meeting, it could be people welding things, you know, whatever they want to use that space for. But it is so early on in the process, it's kind of exciting, and I think if anybody's interested in the idea of building a co-working slash jelly slash hacker space from the ground up, this might be a great opportunity.
Now, what are some of the basic infrastructure that a co-working space might need?
Well, certainly you want power, you want internet access, and apart from that, tables and chairs, you know, for you, a space for you to do your
maybe
work.
Maybe a nice box with some water in it or something.
Well, yeah, you want, maybe you'll want whiteboards, or maybe you'll want something to help you with presentations, projectors, but you might want a stage or, you know, movable furniture as well. So again, it's the sky's the limit at this point, but it's going to be bootstrapped and grassroots. It's not like Kamehameha Schools is going to turn it into this great gleaming thing. It's going to be really bohemian, really, you know, really bare bones, and you can just make of it what you want.
I like that word, bohemian. It's kind of a grassroots thing. It's everybody kind of pitching in and making something happen. And again, it's a new movement, and I think there's a lot of places on the mainland that are picking this up as well as in Hawaii, so we'll kind of keep track of it.
Right. If you want to look up what co-working is, or actually if you want to look up some of these jelly impromptu meetups for working together, a new site is called Loose Cubes. And it's a co-working directory where you can go, even not just in Hawaii, but if I'm traveling to San Diego and I want to spend a day working somewhere, I could find one there. So you can go to Loose Cubes. That's where you can find the listing for the box jelly, which may move in the near future. It might not always be at the furniture store. And of course, this new Kaka'ako space that's coming together.
All right, sounds good. So thanks for joining us. That's another edition of Techspotting, and we'll see you next time.
Aloha.